warm welcome to Power News, your window to the power sector. Let's begin with the top stories. Difficult to push growth without addressing power war, says Montec. Cabinet clears 21% import duty on power gear. CERC asked Tata Power to approach states on tariff hike proposal. India's power sector needs tariff hikes. CIL not in favor of coal price pooling. Jindal Power may buy stake in Gayatri JV. Power crisis will ease, Andhra CM assures industry. Akhilesh revives JP's 1,320 megawatt Karchna project, and Lanco in talks for rupees 3,000 crore loan recast. Well, those were the top stories of the week. Let's move to our next section, quick updates, to know the latest developments in the power sector. In line with the depressed projection of economic growth, the Planning Commission on Wednesday lowered the target for power capacity addition during the 12th plan period ending March 2017 to 88,000 megawatt from 1 lakh megawatt set earlier. As the government is realistically thinking of lowering the 12th plan GDP growth target to 8 to 8.5%, the overall target for power generation capacity is also expected to be brought down. The meeting noted 55 power plants were currently unable to run on full capacity owing coal shortage. India currently has 89 thermal power generating units. Uttar Pradesh Power Corporation, with outstanding dues of 4,500 crore, has no longer enough money to buy power from generating entities in the state. Anil Ambani's Rosa Power has been one of the first casualties, with UPPCL unable to buy power from more than 2 of its 4 plants since July 4th. But there are many more suppliers in the same boat, with the government buying power under 40% of the total installed power capacity in the state. In addition, there are rupees 2,000 crore of dues from last year for power bought from other states. In the beginning of July, dues had shot up to rupees 8,386 crore, but UPCL made some payments in the last week, bringing down the total to rupees 4,500 crore now. UPCL is trying to make arrangements for more funds so as to clear the remaining dues as soon as possible. India's power sector regulator on Thursday asked Tata Power to approach states that buy electricity from its plants in Mundra, Gujarat, with its tariff hike proposal, saying the firm's agreement with the procurers allow for negotiations. As for Adani Power, CERC said it will hear the councils of Haryana and Gujarat on whether the company's petition to it to hike tariffs is maintainable, as the firm has signed specific PPA with the 2 state governments. In the Tata Power issue, CERC said that there is a clause for conciliation in the PPA and asked Tata Power to formulate a proposal and give it to the states. Power Grid is also bearing the brunt of poor financial health of power distribution companies, as DISCOMs are yet to pay dues of rupees 550 to 600 crore to the state-run company. DISCOMs have to pay Power Grid charges related to carrying electricity to the grid. PGCIL has submitted a petition to the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission to recover the outstanding dues. Generally, DISCOMs have a period of 60 days from the day of electricity transmission to pay the required charges to Power Grid. If payments are not made during that period, then the total charges are considered as dues. PGCIL's total monthly transmission charges are about rupees 950 crore. Public sector major NTPC proposes to import 16 million tons of coal this fiscal, up from 12 million tons fiscal, to meet its requirement. Despite the estimated increase in imports, the company is still within its blending requirement of 10%. NTPC uses up to 10% of imported coal to be blended with domestic fuel. Last month, NTPC issued tenders for procuring 2.9 million tons of imported coal for 10 power stations through the international bidding process. Earlier this year, NTPC has awarded a tender for import of 4 million tons to the Adani Group. Recently, the company scrapped its tender for 5 million tons coal import, as it had received higher than the required bids. And now the news of the week. The government's promise of another reform-linked mega bailout for power distribution companies comes even though there is little evidence that such largesse prompts states to mend their ways and restructure the sector. The debt restructuring plan being prepared by the union government for power distribution companies in 7 states will involve a total of rupees 1.2 lakh crore in short-term liabilities.
In 2008, the Centre had launched RAP-DRP scheme to help states finance projects and reduce theft and other commercial losses that undermine the viability of the sector. The plan was to provide loans of Rs 52,000 crore with the promise of converting them into grants as and when projects were completed. 4 years later, just Rs 8,500 crore of RAP-DRP funds have been disbursed as states have failed to ensure that the electricity boards and DISCOMs operate on a commercial basis with freedom to revise tariffs when needed.
The objective of the RAP-DRP was to provide the grant and the assistance to those state DISCOMs which are performing well and they are reducing the AT&C losses well below the targeted level. Now, lately it has been found that only 5 to 7 states have shown their performance in terms of reduction in the AT&C loss and recovery of the cost. The other states have not been able to do that. Now, the government is making a plea that the state governments have failed in terms of providing their budgetary support or their subsidy to those state DISCOMs which have been heavily subsidized.
The accumulated losses of DISCOMs rose up to 2 lakh crore last year. Central government is preparing the debt structure plan for the DISCOMs. The financial restructuring plan of each DISCOM must show how the revenue stream would move over the next 3 to 5 years. And this FRP would have to also get cleared by the respective electricity regulatory authorities. The plan is being put in place by the Finance Ministry in consultation with the Power Ministry. The states covered are going to be Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Rajasthan, Haryana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Madhya Pradesh.
Out of 1,20,000 crores, 60,000 crores will be issued in terms of bonds. These bonds will be initially issued by the distribution companies, but the liability would be picked up by the state government in due course of time in a predetermined time frame. Remaining 50%, that is 60,000 crores, there will be moratorium by the banks for a period of 3 years on the principal amount, but the interest will have to be paid by the distribution companies immediately. For carrying out all these activities, the state regulatory commissions need to approve the plan for recovery of the overhang as well as the current dues.
To ensure the states doing all these are not overly burdened, a transition finance mechanism is proposed. A matching grant would be given to states achieving a reduction in transmission and distribution losses over and above the targeted level in 3 years. Further, states in which the DISCOM's FRP gets implemented fully would have a quarter of the bond's principal amount reimbursed by the central government.
The power business in our country should be treated like the business of any commercial commodities or business of anything that we take up in our country in terms of simple market demand and market supply analysis. And the market efficiency of the power business will depend upon how much power are we generating at what cost, how much power are we supplying to the millions of our country at what cost, and how much the revenue that the power utilities are generating over the capital being invested by them. In this context, therefore, loans and assistance should be considered and should be welcome once it is productively utilized to finance the projects which will generate more adequate return to the state power utilities.
The government is considering a fresh debt recast package for power DISCOMs whose combined debt has reached an unmanageable figure of Rs 2 lakh crore. Analysts say the roots of the crisis and the failure of state government to undertake necessary reforms so that power distribution becomes a viable business. Central assistance should be linked to specific action by states so that states that fail to meet targets can be deprived of benefits. But that is not the case with RAP-DRP, which has certain implementation gaps. It's time for a quick break, but there is a lot more on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. India will shortly impose a 5% import duty on power generation equipment in a move that will benefit domestic firms, including Bharat Heavy Electricals and Larsen & Toubro, that have been lobbying with the government to limit imports. But according to rating agency ICRA, while this duty protection has been a positive for domestic manufacturers, this would increase capital cost for future generation projects and would increase cost of power generation by around 2%.
In a move aimed at providing cushion of domestic players such as BHEL and L&T from cheap imports, especially from China, the cabinet on Thursday decided to slap higher duty on overseas power equipment.
Manufacturing industry needs cheaper power in India to compete with China and to compete with other manufacturing countries. That is more important than protecting the interest of a few power plant equipment manufacturers.
Imported equipment, particularly from China, contributed to about 30% capacity addition during the 11th five-year plan period ended March 2012. The duty structure will be the same for so-called mega projects or those generating at least 1000 megawatts and non-mega projects.
As it is, fuel price is increasing because of domestic coal not picking up. Only about 60-70% of the fuel linkage would be available. People will have to import coal. As a result, power price will go up. And on the top of it, if we put import duty on mega projects, when they import equipment from outside, the cost of power will further go up.
In addition, the government will also impose a 12% countervailing duty, a sort of equalization levy, to make up for the excise duty on local products, and 4% special additional duty, taking the effective tax rate to 21%. This in turn implies an effective duty protection of 9% for domestic manufacturers. The duty is applicable for prospective imports, although there is no clarity over the applicable date. This is also reflected in the fact that fresh order inflows for the sector have been adversely affected over the last 18-month period. Further, overcapacity in the domestic power equipment sector as against the expected demand would continue to result in intense competition and cause pricing pressure.
India's power requirement over the years has largely been dominated by coal-based generation, with close to 55% of the 182 gigawatt of installed capacity. However, more stringent rules and norms brought about recently by the Ministry of Environment and Forest over award of coal blocks have left many developers devoid of coal linkages. Country is expected to face coal shortfall of 238 million tons per annum by 2016-17 if current scenario continues. On top of that, securing fuel from imported coal market is becoming increasingly costly and uncertain. The recent changes in international markets, new mining law in Indonesia and Australia, has significantly impacted the cost of imported coal for Indian companies. Recently, both Krishnapatnam and Mundra Ultra Mega Power Project expressed their concern over rising cost of imported coal, which would make the projects unviable at the tariffs quoted by them.
The 11th plan projected India's coal demand to grow at 9.7% per annum against 5.7% during the 10th plan, almost a twofold increase. Coal India produced 431 million tons of coal in 2010-11 against the targeted production of 460.5 million tons. One of the key reasons for the non-achievement by CIL was locking of some of the resources in no-go areas earlier declared by Ministry of Environment and Forests.
There are problems in increasing coal production because there are issues of environment, there are issues of land, rehabilitation, then forestry clearance. Most of the coal projects which are to be now opened up, they are in the forest area. And you are aware about the go, no-go areas, this concept. So in spite of GOM suggesting no concept of no-go, things have not been moving at that desired pace. So I think more of proactive approach has to be given in allowing the coal producers to produce at the earliest.
Many coal mining projects have got derailed and stopped midway even after most government clearances have been acquired by the companies.
The major issue is the forestry issue, because I don't call it forest clearances, but forest diversion. Now that's where, as a nation we have to take a call, the traditional dilemma, so-called development versus conservation, whether we would like to have coal or we would like to preserve forests. That's a big dilemma.
Over the last few years, the demand of coal is increasing at a higher rate than the domestic supply. This has widened the demand-supply gap. While the target coal production in the country was 572 million tons for financial year 2010-11, the demand was projected at 656 million tons, leaving a gap of about 84 million tons to be met from other sources.
At our current production plans for the 12th five-year plan, we are hoping, I would say at this stage I'm fairly optimistic, whatever we have planned, that is eventually to reach 615 million tons. That's a mammoth target, both in absolute terms, and also this requires a CAGR of 8.1%. This is against our 11th five-year plan growth of 3.8%. So more than twice the growth rate we have to achieve.
As per CIL estimates, the future coal balance for CIL shows supply deficit of more than 300 million tons in medium term. The option to mitigate growing demand and supply gaps lie in enhancement in domestic production and importing coal at competitive prices.
Ultimately, there is a pressure on production. Whatever we produce, still there seems to be a shortage. So the balance, the power producers have to meet it from the import. Around 10 to 15% or even close to 20% possibly, they have to import and blend and use it. That's a, we have a situation where either you meet 100%, but then we don't grow at this rate, or you grow and meet only 80-85% and the balance you meet from the import.
While demand centers are distributed across the country, supply for coal is concentrated in the pockets. Most of the Indian coal resources have been concentrated in the eastern and southern zone in the states of Jharkhand, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh.
Mandragar in Chhattisgarh, Ib Valley in Odisha, Talcher in Odisha, and North Karanpura in Jharkhand. These are the 4 coal fields which are relatively newer, but they have vast potential of production. Now, since there is no rail line existing in these coal fields, unless the rail infrastructure is created there, the growth in production is not likely to come up, because there are projects sanctioned already with all clearances, but we can't produce because there is no movement of coal infrastructure.
By 2025, country's coal production is expected to increase about 1,060 million tons. Therefore, railway infrastructure needs to be developed to meet the growing transportation demand.
In spite of so much of shortage of coal, the Coal India pithead stock ended up at 71 million ton, where a company produces 436 million ton. If 71 million ton of it still keeps on lying at the pithead, then there is a problem elsewhere. Because if the coal doesn't get evacuated, then you have no place to produce, because the coal catches fire, and there is a space required for keeping coal. So the basic issue is not how to produce more coal. Yes, it is one of them, but the basic issue today is how to move the produced coal from the pit heads or from the mine heads to the power plants.
The Indian Railways will need to increase capacity in the short term for handling machineries, equipment and other developmental facilities. A solution to increase the domestic production also lies in the development of mining technology to increase the productivity and capacity. As the imported coal could not be a solution for the sector, the country must increase local output, and one way of doing this is to open up the coal sector for private players. But the government lacks willingness to do that. Opening up coal mining for private players would persist until the country appoints a coal regulator. It's time for another short break. Keep watching Power News. After a long spell of 22 years, the 40th IFAPCA convention is now being staged at Kochi in January 2013. For nearly 50 years, IFAPCA pursued the need for exchange of ideas, experiences and construction technology amongst its members and affiliates in different climes and geographical settings. The 40th IFAPCA convention brings together key decision makers from 16 countries, presenting the perfect opportunity for B2B networking, striking lucrative deals, joint ventures and partnerships.
The 40th IFAPCA convention is happening in India and is organized by the Builders Association of India, the Apex All India Construction Association. The convention offers the perfect platform for closer cooperation among member nations while fostering the sharing of ideas, experiences and new technologies.
It was formed in 1956 and we've been having a convention every alternate year, or it's in fact, every 18 months. And since India joined, we have had 2 conventions prior. The first being in 1971, the second in 1991, that was in Mumbai. The first was in Delhi, and the third one is going to be held in 2013 at Cochin.
IFAPCA, a dynamic international organization, plays a critical role in promoting international fellowship and cooperation in developing beneficial relationship between governments and contractors in the region in civil and building construction sector.
It is a common platform, this IFAPCA, so that every country, they say what is being done in their particular country, and other countries, they also feel which is the best thing. Then they can approach their governments. So this is being done in a particular country, this is more useful. Like that they can have an interaction, and we want to get a better option to adopt in the construction industry. That is the main purpose of having this convention as a IFAPCA.
For nearly 50 years, IFAPCA pursued the need for exchange of ideas, experiences and construction technology among its members and affiliates in different geographical settings.
This convention is a big event. It's a mega event, I would say. Who's who in the construction industry from all across these member countries would be present here. We are expecting around 500 foreign delegates and equal number of Indian delegates. Construction is going to be in a big way happening in India. So everyone in India as well as the member countries who are attending this program would definitely get benefited. Responsible infrastructure, which is the theme of the convention. This topic has been selected very carefully to make sure that the development which is going to happen in India is sustainable and responsible. We are also talking about inclusive growth. We are talking about green development, zero emission, and all kind of stuff.
IFAPCA 2013 convention would serve as a platform to facilitate extensive exchange of ideas among participants, which will promote further collaboration, leading to a better trading environment for the construction industry in the region.
Now, in this convention, we are going to have a lot of events which can benefit all the member countries. One of the events I would like to say is B2B interaction. That is a business interaction with the partners from other countries coming to India. By doing this, they can have Indian partner in India and vice versa, so that if any construction industry they want to come and work in India, it may be easy and convenient for them to find an Indian partner.
The theme of the 40th IFAPCA convention is on harnessing emerging technologies to ensure responsible infrastructure in an inclusive, socially responsible and eco-friendly manner, be it public transport systems, buildings or housing complexes. The 2013 IFAPCA convention is expected to bring together more than 1,000 delegates from 16 member countries.
The convention offers the perfect platform for closer cooperation among member nations while fostering the sharing of ideas, experiences and new technologies. This will encourage collaboration among neighboring contractors and builders and a better trading environment for the construction industry in the region. With this, we come to an end of this episode of Power News. Keep sending us your suggestions and views at powernews@znetwork.com or call us on 011-405-60701. Do join us next week for more news and updates. Till then, goodbye and take care.